To learn about the off-grid lifestyle and to be inspired to live your dreams, click subscribe so you don't miss anything. Hit the bell notification. So we're back at the tiny house build again today, and today we're actually going to make what I feel like is significant progress, or at least the start of significant progress. Today I'm going to start working on putting the roof and the siding up so we can actually start getting things done on the inside in this cold weather. Told you yesterday we were going to get our pallet wood and our 1x4s. So this is the pallet wood Carolyn's going to use to put on the walls on the inside. She's going to layer all that up. And then these are the 1x4s for the roof. I'm going to use these to put across the roof, and then I can screw the metal roofing right into that. I'm really nervous about this because if I make a mistake, it's going to be pretty costly. So I got to be real careful on everything I do. Can't make any miscuts. But like the trim here, the fascia plates and the eave trim, each of these corners has to be cut and bent over so it wraps around the board. Well, if you miscut that, then you're in serious trouble. Now, I think I have plenty of extra that if I make a miscut, I can adapt. But when it comes to the metal panels, I have no extra. I think I can do this. I mean, I've built the entire house, and although I've made some mistakes, it's up there. It's doing well. It's survived several storms now, and I don't even have the metal siding on yet. Okay, so my first step is to get the tarps off here on the roof. Hopefully everything underneath it is dry. If it's not dry, then I'm gonna have to wait a couple hours, let everything dry out. That's the nice thing about this. It seems like since I've started living off-grid, things always seem to work out. For example, it's been raining for a week. I've been getting the components that I need to build the tiny house for a week. The metal roofing material, the 1x4s, I've been collecting all this. As soon as I got all the materials, on day one, it's gonna dry up. The sun's gonna come out, it's gonna warm up a little bit into the 50s. It's gonna stay dry for at least a week. So that gives me plenty of opportunity to at least get the roof on, I hope. I hope I can do it in a week. I don't think it's gonna take that long. I don't think I'm gonna take the tarp completely off. Just in case it does rain, I'll just flip it over to the other side, work on this side, and if it rains, I can flip it back down. Once I get the 1x4s in there, then this felt paper, the house wrap, won't be waterproof because it'll have nails going through it so that water can drip down into the insulation that I've already got hung up inside. So gotta be careful. All right, so I'm gonna get started and get this tarp off. Okay, so I'm going to try out Carolyn's new Black & Decker battery operated power saw. Now I recognize a lot of people said, oh, it's not powerful enough to do what you need, but we're just cutting 1x4, so I think it's going to do great. So we're going to test it out. Carolyn said I could use it first because she wants me to learn how to use it so I can teach her. So I got my piece of wood there. We're going to give it a try. Okay, so this should give you an idea now what I'm talking about with the 1x4s. So these 1x4s I'm going to spread out every 2 feet all the way to the peak. Then, well, of course, then I got to put my trim on. But once I get my trim on, then I can lay the panel down on these 1x4s and screw the panel right into this 1x4. That'll give it a lot of strength. I bought these from a guy who tears pallets apart. You saw the pallet wood. $1 a piece, came out to 20 cents a foot. And if you figure it out at Home Depot, these things were 60 cents a foot. So not the best wood in the world, but it'll definitely make do for what I'm using it for. It shouldn't take me too much longer now that I got this first row done, because now I'll have some footing. I put my foot right here and I can just run them right across. So, okay, so I got all the 1x4s down on this side of the roof. So now I'll have something to screw in my panels with. Here you'll see that I have them kind of tight together and a space here. Right here, you might be able to see that is where the chimney hole is. So I've already cut the hole, it's just covered up with paper right now. So the shroud that comes around the chimney, it's hard to explain, but there's a shroud that comes up around this chimney. Well, I'll put the top up underneath the metal sheeting, and then the bottom comes over the metal sheeting. But regardless, I'll have to have something to screw that shroud into. So I brought the shroud up here, I measured it out to make sure that the hole, there's the hole right there, and then there's a hole right there. And so now the shroud can be screwed down onto these. So now my next step is I'm gonna put a couple pieces of trim, it's called the fascia trim, right here on the side. So that comes from the bottom up. And then tomorrow I'll put the eave trim on, which comes from the top down. That way the whole fascia board is covered, no water is getting down onto it. And then I could start putting paneling up. I might put some trim on this side too, coming from the bottom up, that to be the fascia trim. I might do that simply because right now it's really easy to move around on these boards. And if I have to come over here when the metal is already up, I'll be sliding around. So I'll probably go ahead and put the trim on this side also. The metal, I'm gonna cut with my grinder. I also have a grinding blade for my saw, but with the trim, I'm just gonna use my grinder. Okay, so this right here is the fascia trim. And so you see that it's got a little undercut and it's got a sidewall. So the fascia is this board right there, runs the length of the house. So let's imagine this is the fascia. And so this will go right here. And see, you can see that it comes underneath the 2x4. Now the thing you gotta do is you gotta wrap 1.5 inches, you gotta wrap this around the end. So in order to do that, you got to cut the bottom off right here. So I'll use my little grinder and I'll cut that 1.5 inches off, bend this over, this has to be bent over, and then the whole thing's wrapped. Okay, took me a practice run, I had to do it over. Fortunately, with this particular piece of trim, I got plenty where I can make a mistake, but it was only 1.5 inch mistake, so I cut off my mistake, tried again, and this time I was able to wrap it. The instructions, the YouTube video I watched, does not have a duplicate of this particular fascia trim. This is a little bit different, so I had to improvise and figure out what I was doing. So the bottom here I had to wrap around underneath here, and so everything comes in around it. So after just one test run, I got it figured out. Works great. Okay, so I'm using 1.5 inch roofing nails just to hammer that in. Now, you hammer it in on the high side of the trim. That way, when you put your eave trim in on tomorrow, which I'll do tomorrow. Right now, we're coming in from the bottom up. Tomorrow, we'll come from the top down with the eave trim. And the eave trim then covers up the nails. And then on the eave trim, you'll nail that up on the roof, straight down. And then the paneling covers that up. Not sure you can see it, but got the fascia trim on this side, and it matches the soffit, pretty close. Pretty good for a guess. I had to guess on the paint a few weeks ago. I made a little mistake over here that I'm gonna have to patch up on my soffit on the overhang there. It cut a little deep there. I'll have to patch that up. So tomorrow, I'm gonna put on the eave trim now. And so I'm gonna review the YouTube videos again to make sure I have it memorized. That way, if I run into a problem like I did today, I'll be able to adjust and make the adjustments on the fly. Wow, we're making huge progress. I would say tomorrow I should be getting paneling up there on the roof. The eave trim should not take long to put on, maybe an hour. I can't tell you, every day I do something, I'm just ecstatically proud of how well it's going. I hope I can inspire you to create something today. Thanks for watching.